Hey, what's good, dog? Today we're going to be going over my best and worst videos from the past 2 years. But actually no, we're not going to go back 2 years, we're going to go back 2.5 years. Just very briefly, and then we're going to go right into the 2023 era of Professor Teagues, which then goes into the 2024 era. You get the gist. My first few months of creating these weekly commentary videos was a little messy, but in some ways kind of wholesome. I recently rewatched all 100 plus gameplay commentary videos I made starting in mid-2022, and I wanted to note down some of the things I've noticed. I was experiencing all of these different things that helped me move away from the lowest point in my life, like coming back to religion, making new friends, and using my internet personality to express a level of honesty about my political beliefs that I have never expressed before. All of these things coming together allowed me to seem more vulnerable, in a good way, but also more authentic. There weren't too many edits in the videos that took away from what I was saying at the time, just nearly raw audio of me speaking my mind with little to no preparation. Watching these videos back, it's easy to be discouraged from viewing each video all the way through due to my constant stuttering and mumbling as I challenged myself to speak longer and faster, but there's something about it that brings out that authenticity I mentioned. I actually was careful about the things I said and made an attempt to invite nuance as I knew my audience was new to these controversial issues. Issues like LGBT propaganda at elementary schools, dealing with chronic illness or poor mental health, and what I thought about Andrew Tate being slandered by the whole internet. But once we got into 2023, there was almost an immediate change in tone. After my Proud Family video blew up in February, I let the attention get to my head, for better or for worse. I began to speak so transparently that I began to overshare at times. I cringed so hard having to hear myself talk about my personal life after all this time, because it came off so preachy in a way that made me seem like a super autist. I'm not even exaggerating. I literally went as far as talking about my reading disability and school counselors that help me with stuff I can't do myself. I am no stranger to using my autism as a talking point on a regular basis in my videos now, but back then, it always seemed like there's no possible way for me to talk about my disability without oversharing. But I feel like the beginning of my downfall was when I made my video about Adam22 letting his wife get plowed by an adult actor on camera. My video was well received, but ever since this video, I had adopted my signature style of Professor Teagues commentary. It still wasn't perfect, but that's the gimmick. My commentary videos were never meant to be perfect. My first video that was poorly received en masse was a month or two before, where I talked about IDUBBBZ and creator clash, which I made overtly political as I criticized his beliefs and life choices. If we want to get intellectual, this may have been my true downfall, but at least I formulated my talking points pretty well. The Adam22 video was when I began rushing my talking points, which is an extremely common occurrence in my videos to this day, and is arguably the worst part about them if you ignore my stuttering. I had begun to transition from inexperienced to more of an Alex Jones commentator by this point, causing me to stutter even more and screw up my major talking points. A video that happened to be scripted past halfway through the year was my video talking about me getting suspended for interviewing that special needs kid at school. I never realized how good I was at commentating while reading off of a script. Though the video still had that Professor Teagues charm with its vulgarity, it was still well written, and I spoke in a way that other people could easily understand what I was trying to say. I don't really have much else to say about this video. I just wanted to bring it up to shed light on the fact that reading off of a script helps exponentially when trying to get my points across. The next video right after that was my first ILLYMATION video, where I criticized her views on abortion, as well as accusing her of spreading misinformation in the video that followed, as I responded to all the hate comments I got. This was probably the most heavily disliked video I uploaded in 2023, and for good reason. I won't lie to you. Rewatching this video was extremely difficult because the points I made were strictly formed amidst improvising on the spot. I had watched her video beforehand, but I didn't take time to note down my major points and instead just spoke off the top of my head. I stuttered a lot, rambled a lot, bullied her character a lot, and almost none of it contributed to my arguments. But what stood out the most, out of everything I've ever said in all of my other videos, was my comparison of abortion to cooking and eating chicken eggs from the grocery store. I am not joking. When we harvest chicken eggs and we boil them and eat them, that is bloody murder. You're stealing a hen's eggs to cook and eat them. You're preventing the life of a baby chicken to be had, okay? That, to me, is murder, and that, to everyone, has always been murder up until last year. Like, what? Something in my mind thought it was a galaxy brain move to compare the termination of an unborn child to buying eggs that haven't even been fertilized by a rooster. Everyone surely began to ask themselves, is this guy autistic or something? And the answer is yes, I am also unmedicated. The next embarrassing thing I said was when I commented about ILLYMATION talking about how she had been on birth control since she was 15. Birth control meant to suppress the severity of her menstrual cycle.
I did everything right. I was always careful. I'd been on birth control since the age of 15, nearly.
Bloody 15. You're admitting to the whole internet that okay, you're suggesting that you do schmecks. Okay, that's what bloody birth control is. That's what the condom thing was.
I assumed birth control was exclusively for the morning after commencing intercourse with a dude, hence the name birth control. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a timeline where a 17-year-old with extensive access to the internet does not know the various types of birth control used for various different purposes related to a woman's uterus. I then began bullying ILLYMATION for the way she looked and said that she is probably lying about her being schmexually active due to her being ugly her whole life.
Fun fact, it was about 2 weeks before I went to VidCon.
You see what I'm talking about? We finally have a picture of her here. You are lying. Since you were 15, you are lying.
You could probably already guess that the comments on my video were super harsh about these 2 points I just explained. Everything else, however, I still stood by. And when I made the response video a week later, I addressed the idiotic statement about the chicken eggs, then moved on to defending everything else I said. Despite the video being worded so well and me addressing everything with facts and research, as requested by a lot of the people that criticized me, I responded in a way that made me seem arrogant. It's not the worst video I could have made, but it was definitely better than the original video that got so much backlash. The next video that got my attention was my video sharing a story time about me debating a gun control bill in my government class. This video wasn't scripted, but it wasn't worded in the most formal way. It didn't get a lot of views, I don't think it got any comments, so overall, this video is kind of forgettable, even though I'm literally talking about it right now. My main complaint is that I could not stop belittling all of the people in the class for being quote-unquote liberals, because it got kind of redundant. Next up, we have my third ILLYMATION video, but it isn't about abortion this time. This was me reacting to her video about dating with autism. Overall, I think this is the worst video I made in 2023, besides the first abortion video, of course. And I say this for a particular reason. Me talking like an absolute autistic spaz while talking about autism. I had absolutely no filter in this video, and believe me when I say, it is an incredibly difficult 21-minute watch.
Every YouTuber is autistic just in their own ways. But me, I'm an autism guru, okay? Unlike you, Alyssa, I'm more knowledgeable than you, and there's nothing you can do about it. You could never do as much research as me as I put into this, and you will never have the liberal psychologist that I have. You will have your kind of liberal psychologist that don't even know what they're talking about.
I can't even say that my videos have remained authentic at this point, because this is anything but authentic. I played the Professor Teague's character so much in this video, I wouldn't be surprised if I was put onto a government watch list for being too mentally unwell for modern society. Ironically enough, in this video ranting about autism, I mentioned that I am known for being extremely unself-aware while having conversations or recording videos. In conclusion, this video didn't need to exist, and I even acknowledged that at the beginning of the intro, but at the end of the day, this video got way too many views, and will go down as my top 3 worst videos within my commentary arc. Next, we have my GTA 6 video. This video was me sharing my grievances about why I thought GTA 6 will be a terrible game. Looking back at this video, I think this was one of my better rants that I've done. And don't get me wrong, the 4,000 views that this video got generated a lot of backlash, but this initial rant, then the response video after the trailer dropped were both very well orchestrated, and I didn't stutter as much as I usually did at the time. I still think my arguments and reasons for the game potentially being terrible at launch in 2025 is pretty valid. All of the criticism I got was mostly valid as well, but overall, I don't think these were bad videos. Now this is the moment we've all been waiting for, probably. Here we have my Black or Chinese video, which is now sitting at 25,000 views, with this being my most viewed video on the internet. Every time I watch this video again, all I feel is positivity because this was a light-hearted video with no ill intent. It's a shame that the original Twitter account that I made the video about doesn't really post that much anymore, but the magic of the meme was still wonderful while it lasted, or whatever. I feel like this video is just a prime example of how people flock to positivity rather than negativity and rage bait. It's still true that negativity gets the most attention in the news, but for my sake, saying something funny, positive, or agreeable is the thing that has gotten me more attention than saying something highly debatable or unpopular. In conclusion, spread good vibes and people will like you, I guess. My video right after this one was my VERBALASE Newsman episode. I honestly have no idea why this video got so many views and likes. This is probably my worst Newsman episode of all time. I could not stop rambling and stuttering. It was insane. Fortunately, that's all I really have to say about this video since it's my second most viewed video, so I wanted to mention it very briefly. Next we have my twomad video talking about his drug overdose and how the internet reacted to it. I labeled this video as a quote-unquote transparent rambling video, but in reality, it's a lot more structured than any of my other quote-unquote rambling videos. I originally didn't want to talk about a person's death for content, but I decided to do it for the purpose of preaching the best religion in the world, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I talked about how a friend of my friend committed suicide the previous day, so they invited me to their home to participate in a blessing with the bishop. This is the only video on my main channel where religion was the primary topic. This twomad video of mine didn't go viral, of course, but I wanted to mention it because of the religion thing, and I still think I had good intentions while spreading a decent message about the situation. Our very next controversy was me discussing the WILBUR SOOT and George Not Found situation where they both allegedly abused their girlfriends in recent history. These situations are totally separate, but it's funny how they both were in the news at the same time. I made my first video taking Wilbur's side by saying that he did nothing wrong and we should excuse his biting kink due to his underlying autism. This was immediately interpreted as me defending an abuser, which I still don't think playful biting should be considered abuse in the first place, but you've heard it all before. The more you throw the word abuser around, the more actual abuse victims aren't being heard. I still stand by everything I said in that video. I'm not sharing everything about the situation for the sake of time, so if you want to know more, then just watch the video yourself. I didn't respond to the criticisms outside of the comment section, but after I came back from vacationing in Miami at the time, my first video back was talking about the George Not Found situation as he got cuddly with an 18-year-old at a party. I also got a bit of criticism from this video, but I also got a few people agreeing with me that George was well within his boundary to get as freaky as he did, because the victim didn't speak out about her feeling uncomfortable about it until months later, which in turn began the downward spiral of George's reputation as he made 2 to 3 response videos apologizing in the most disingenuous way. It was such a dumb situation because George threw away his career for basically nothing. The victim was caught lying multiple times as she exaggerates and changes the story, then still has the audacity to beg for sympathy. In the end, both of these videos I made are worded pretty well, and I still stand by everything I said. Out of the 2 videos, the George Not Found situation gave me the least amount of hot water. As the WILBUR situation, I failed to mention the fact that he had control over his partner's bank account, which everyone thinks is a no-no. The next upload is my 4th ILLYMATION video, talking about her copyright striking Think Before You Sleep's video criticizing her body positivity Storytime cartoon. This is probably the weakest ILLYMATION video I've made, and it's unfortunately the last one in this series on my channel. It was very lazy, had minimal editing, and my points were not worded very consistently. Not much else to say, so let's move on. My next controversial video was me talking about FAZE KALEI getting kicked from FAZE Clan. She was streaming on Twitch as she shared the news with her viewers, but she spoke in a very bitter way that made her seem extremely egocentric. This mini drama made its rounds on Twitter, but I ended up being the only commentary channel that I know of that actually reported on it. Next thing I know, while recording, she uploaded a YouTube video talking about what she plans to do now that she's not in FAZE. This was right after I gave her a pep talk on how she can save her PR since she pretty much badmouthed the hand that fed her for these past few years, so I retracted my previous statements and praised her for the YouTube video that was infinitely better than the original Twitch clip of her sounding bitter. Overall, I still deserve the criticism in the comments because I slandered KALEI for things that didn't really matter that much. This is in my top 10 most viewed videos, but I'd rather get 40 views and nothing more. A video that wasn't controversial at all, got a 4-digit view count, and got attention from the creator I made it about was my reaction video talking about the Storytime community and why they fell off. This was the one and only time I received acknowledgement from the primary individual of interest within one of my videos. So that's all I really have to say. His comment was very nice despite my constant stuttering and rambling making me sound like an autistic spaz, which is probably why he was so nice in the first place, so, that just happened. That's so stupid, why did I write that in the script? My next rambling transparent video was me talking about my high school graduation. Seeing that I was sick, this video was okay, I guess. No one really cared or commented to congratulate me from what I remember, so like most of my rambling videos, I really should have just put it on the second channel with the podcast or something. I I quickly got political and talked about my government class hating me, similar to my video talking about gun control. This time, we talked about mass shootings as well as illegal immigration. I used this video to rip into my class as they suppressed most of the things I did for our election simulation. I presented them with a well-researched bill. I made them a commercial for the whole audience to see. I ran for president. I ran for domestic and foreign policy chief, and I thought of a name for our party, which was the only thing I really contributed to out of all the other things I mentioned. I'm still very disappointed in the class for not allowing me to shoot my shot because I was 100% more knowledgeable about politics out of everyone in the class, but since I was right-wing and saying things that everyone else was too afraid to say, I was overthrown by moderate lefties and centrists, which resulted in the party of ours getting last place in the election simulation. Let that sink in. This next video is probably my most controversial and poorly received video ever with the most dislikes and hate comments. Let's talk about my Lily Orchard video. This individual was alleged to be a rapist, abuser, manipulator, chronic liar, incest freak, and so much more. They made their own video breaking down most of the accusations. And I say most because they left out one of the most critical accusations that hinted to them not only partaking in incest between their own siblings during their adolescent years, but also being an incest fetishist by creating an online webcomic series where My Little Pony characters would take the form of humans, get in relationships with each other, have children, then get in relationships with said children. Yes, the parents would do it with their own kids. That's crazy. The fact that this was not at all addressed in Lily's response video says a lot. They could have simply said, no, I did not make this, like they had every other time this was brought to their attention throughout the years, but no. Either they're tired of talking about it, or they have no way of proving that they had no involvement, which makes them seem more guilty. Anyway, the premise of my video was to share a unique perspective regarding what I thought about Lily Orchard and the people accusing them, rather than dogpiling primarily on just Lily. Seeing that this is a Professor Teague's video, I almost immediately began ranting about how being transgender outs anyone as being mentally stable, thus concluding that Lily has never been mentally stable. This paraphrased statement accumulated dozens, even close to 100 comments written by people that are pro-trans all the way and wanted to air their grievances over me calling all trans people mentally ill. I instinctively ignored these comments, but after a few days, maybe less, I snapped and replied to a random person's comment speaking negatively of my statement. I said that I understand it may have been a bad idea to immediately start out my video saying that the trans ideology does more harm than good, but how does that automatically cancel out every other point I had made in the video afterwards? This was obviously the worst thing I could have done, so after receiving more criticism for my ignorance, I backed away from the comments as a whole. I still read the ones that would be notified to me from time to time, but I just stopped responding to them. I did do a podcast episode on the second channel going over the drama and further justifying my points that I do 100% still stand on, so I don't think I need to go into any more detail. To say that this is my most controversial video would be pretty accurate, but what if my first ILLYMATION video about abortion got 6,000 views when I first uploaded it in 2023? Would I have gotten the same amount of criticism? I have no idea. I feel like LGBT and abortion stuff is on the same level of controversy, so saying anything against either of them is an immediate death sentence. For now, I'll say that me being transphobic and abortion-phobic is on the same level. But we're not done with the transphobic allegations just yet. Later down the road, I made 3 videos in a row slandering the trans community in different instances of commentary. The first video was me and Owen reacting to a video made by someone that got offended by a specific episode from a Phineas and Ferb spinoff from 2018. The second video is me talking about Moist Critical being pro-child mutilation. The third video is me reacting to another video that the same person from the first video who made a follow-up regarding their prior complaints. Starting off with the first video. I want to say right away, I was absolutely asking to be bullied from the beginning to end. I spoke in that Hasman Hotel Alistair voice the whole time. More than half of my argumentative points against the pro-trans video were worded terribly, to the point where they were borderline comedic sounding, if not totally comedic. This is another contender for the worst video I've made, but I still think my third ILLYMATION video claims the title as my worst video as for now. There are 2 statements in this video I would like to address. First one being that when I explain my reasoning as to why degeneracy in the form of transitioning is bad. What do we think about masculine and feminine hierarchy?
Like, okay, dude, it's there for a reason because, like,
society, the function.
Yeah, men are better at some things and women are better at some things, you know, bro?
We focus on the peak of society. We want society to be the best it can possibly be. One of the main and most important methods of doing that is sticking to our gender roles. Now, that might sound super controlling and misogynistic, but in so many, and dare I say most scenarios where people stick to their gender roles, they come out on top almost like 100% of the time, okay? Trust me.
My main point was that males and females sticking to their gender roles is very important throughout all of nature, so a female figure in a household being more masculine and a male figure in a household being more feminine is destroying our modern Roman Empire. I still do believe this to be the case, which I even made another point after that statement, pretty much saying that the world is better off being filled with nothing but normal people, because weird people are exactly how we've gotten into this situation in modern times, with people becoming trans and breaking the family structure apart. I think I could have explained that a lot better and more coherently, as usual, so I guess I'm worse at improv than I thought. The second point I wanted to go over was when I said towards the end that the reason why trans youth are being murdered out in the open is because of the LGBT community's own doing.
What matters the most is that trans people, children even, have died because of this bigotry. Like Layla Alcorn, Nex Benedict, and Brianna Gray, all transgender teenagers who died as a result of the violent bigotry they were receiving from those around them. Do you know how many trans and non-binary people have died violently because of their being who they are?
Do you know how many Christians have been genocided throughout history for simply being Christians? You see, I'm gonna make a brave statement here, because I think the reason why a lot of trans people are being killed nowadays, specifically nowadays in the 2020s, is because of because of the agenda that you're all pushing now. You can see that we are very angry that you are pushing this upon our children and our cartoons and all of that. And so, decisions have consequences, okay? I'm not saying it's right to murder people that don't agree with us and stuff, but to say that the trans community themselves are not at fault whatsoever is completely just a bruh moment, okay?
I do think there's partial truth to this, but it lacks so much nuance. I don't think I have a solid answer that could ultimately improve this particular argument, so all I can say is to not take this point too seriously because, again, it lacks nuance. There were the usual points for me and Owen that made people mad, like how the Lily Orchard video had all those pro-trans people disregard everything else I said, so they can call me a transphobe and call it a day. Now, let's move on to the Moist Critical video. I made points against Charlie, saying that everyone is right about him grifting and saying the popular thing, so he doesn't get executed by the queer mafia, which in turn had him get executed by his own fans, because most of them believe that allowing kids to get trans surgeries before they're 18 is absolutely psychotic. That's pretty much about it. All of the hate comments I got were more people calling me transphobic and that Charlie is doing a good thing for standing alongside mentally ill children that want to cut their things off. The third and final anti-trans video was a sequel to the first video where I reacted to the same creator talk about how they want to hire more LGBT people to work on cartoons so they can point out all the bigotry before the episodes go live, as well as write in more LGBT characters into the cartoons so they can have more representation and indoctrinate children more efficiently. Out of the 3 videos I made, this one is objectively the best because I absolutely ripped into this person for all their stupid and absolutely degenerate takes, like I should have done with my initial reaction to their first video. This served as a good redemption arc in this short saga, and I stand by everything I said. By this point, I had realized that no matter what I said, I wasn't going to change people's opinions. After all this time trying, I had concluded that this massive social experiment is an utter failure, as far as I'm aware. I could only get so far, which is proven by my channel having a 3-digit sub count with a single video that reaches 25,000 views after being consistently active for nearly 2 years. Perhaps weekly slop commentary isn't for everyone. Was it time to pack it up and quit? Not quite yet. As we fast forward to a video I did with Owen called The Sloppiest Slop to Ever Slop, it becomes painfully obvious that I had lost hope for my channel once I opened the video complaining about views being low, then going as far as berating my audience, followed by saying that I hate making videos. Leave it another reaction video, well that's because the last video didn't get any views! Frick you, frick all of you, frick me, I don't want to do this anymore, we're gonna be reacting to another video and I know I don't completely know why I had an outburst like this, even though this was just a few months ago. I guess I was becoming overwhelmed having to make videos, go to college, and being an 18-year-old with inconsistent financial income in the back of my mind. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that I had begun to crumble by this point. Me and Owen were just casually reacting to a few Jubilee videos, giving our thoughts on what we were watching, but there wasn't a whole lot of substance, and at the same time, we didn't have any other ideas for what to talk about. The title of this video ended up being more and more true as you continue to watch along. This was the absolute pinnacle of slop commentary. But that begs the question, is this my worst commentary video? Well, that's a difficult question to answer because this is barely a video at all. At least I didn't get a bunch of comments full of people calling me transphobic or saying that I would be a horrible dad for letting my kids learn to shoot a gun when they haven't even finished elementary school yet. But are a massive amount of dislikes and dozens of hate comments truly what determines if a video is the worst? Of course not. But I think a video being the worst is mostly determined by it being associated with a bad memory after you watch it. This sloppy video is not memorable at all, especially with its lack of effort and quality control. So with that out of the way, let's move on to my Brazilian MIKU video. This is a long-awaited sequel to my Black or Chinese video from January of 2024, and boy is it worthy of that title. After all this negativity crowding up my channel's uploads, we were met with something much more lighthearted. This was a video where I gave commentary over a bunch of tweets of artists drawing random things as HATZUNE MIKU right after Twitter was banned from Brazil. I got several comments from actual Brazilians telling me about how much they loved this video of mine, while also giving me more context to the Brazilian Twitter ban. Overall, this video was a rainbow at the end of a storm. It got more views than anything I uploaded since the Lily Orchard video, and everyone seemed to really love it. Next, we have my Kamala Harris video with the upcoming 2024 election. I wanted to dig deep into my conservative social justice, as well as slander the Democratic presidential candidate, Kamala Harris. This video was me reacting to KAMALA, looking at the internet's most searched questions about her, as well as a clip of an annoying TikTok kid debating whether or not Harris was better than Trump. I bring up this video of mine not because of all the hate comments it obviously got, but because this was the start of a new Professor Teague sub era. I had self-reflected about how I wanted to continue my commentary videos from here on out, and I decided that if Trump wins the election, then I will stop weekly commentary videos at the start of 2025. But if Harris wins, then I will think about continuing into year 3 of the commentary era to hopefully stretch out all of the propaganda I have left inside me to fight against Harris's woke America. Professor Teagues thinks he's on the team for real. I tried to not talk about the election too much after this video. I still slipped in some related stories in a couple of Newsman episodes, but I held off on my primary focus of the election until a couple days before election night. But before that week came, I made another video talking about religion. Well, kinda. It was a video where I talked about a Mormon's last time dating online. This was a very interesting story where the guy meets up with a supposed fellow Mormon, but she acts extremely rude to him and begins recording him leaving a restaurant they met up at so she could post it on TikTok and ruin his life. The man responded to this TikTok video with his side of the story, which ultimately absolved him and led to the girl privating her page. I was reacting to this situation with Owen once again, just cracking jokes about Mormons, calling the man gay and the girl a prostitute. This video ended up being really funny in our opinion, but there was one small issue. I am Mormon. I originally thought that I had authority to speak on this situation because I am a member of the same church as these Utah folk, but instead of being mature about it, I went off the rails with my humor. I didn't have anyone comment about this, I never got criticized, but this video has grown on me for the few months it's been uploaded. I am all for making fun of people who have similar interests as me, like if I call Fortnite players gay, but to call a fellow Mormon gay? I honestly think I was way out of line from a moral standpoint, but yet again, no one is perfect, which this whole situation proves, but that doesn't give me the right to slander someone for their behavior that they cannot control, while also being a man of faith that tries to do good in life. A very important rule we have in Christianity, as well as the LDS or Mormon Church in particular, is to not judge others as no one is perfect. He who has not sinned are the only ones of authority to judge, which is none of us. Only God can judge. This immediately contradicts everything I have ever done on this channel, but I draw the line at judging a fellow member on a public website for the entire world to see. This is a big reason as to why I try to avoid making videos about religion, as I am not the best representation of this sacred church. So I don't want to give people the idea that all Latter-day Saints are like this. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about that due to this being a personal lapse in my judgment that bothers me and only me. Now, let's go back to the election. A couple days before election night, I uploaded a video rambling about my reasons for voting for Donald Trump. This didn't get a lot of views, as most of my Trump-related videos tend to not reach the algorithm like my other videos. I wanted to upload this video to meat ride Trump harder than I ever have before, as well as express a little concern over the possibility that the Democrats might rig the election, which might have happened a little in Pennsylvania, but Trump ended up winning anyway. I was so overjoyed, more overjoyed than Kamala voters ever could have been throughout the campaign. So the next video I made was me talking about the election aftermath, since that was the meta on the platform for a little while to celebrate our patriotic victory. That's all there really is to say. If you want to make videos about Donald Trump, then rethink your content strategy, because that's what everyone does already, and your video about the same thing will not get views. My very next video was another video about autism. You'd think I'd redeem myself since the ILLYMATION talking about autism, but no, I don't know what it is. Every time I talk about autism, my brain absolutely rots, and I start speaking like a schizo, making myself seem more autistic than I actually am. I don't just do this in my videos, I do this in real life as well, the only difference being that I begin talking more slowly while still slurring my words, showing my side of autism that makes me seem more like a zombie. When I'm pressured to be more entertaining, that's when I become schizo, and I say things I'd ultimately regret, and not realizing how bad the things I said are until days after uploading the video. In this video, me and Owen, again, were reacting to a Jubilee video where 3 autistic contestants test their autism radar to see if they can identify individuals in a group of people as either autistic or not autistic. I wouldn't stop ranting about how autism is a spectrum and everyone in the world is autistic in their own way, which basically destroys the whole premise of the video. On top of that, I, of course, began making fun of everyone in the video for things they cannot control and making stupid jokes that only we find funny, because it wouldn't be a Schizo Professor Teagues and Owen reaction video without all of that. Another reason as to why I bring this video up is because one of the people from the video actually saw our reaction and left a comment. If I had known this would happen, I would have filtered myself, but no, it's too late. The comment was very positive, but also short, so I definitely said something that possibly offended them in some way. I pointed out the fact that they had armpit sweat soaked in their shirt, which he found funny, I think, but what I'm worried about is all the other stuff I said before and after that part. In conclusion, don't give autistic people a microphone to say whatever they want. You have 1 week! 1 week remains, mark my warning. I guess that concludes it for today's video. Sub to the second channel, follow the Rumble, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, and join the Discord server. Follow all the social media. Bye bye.